All right, there was a bit of a dust-up in the House of Commons today. It almost looked like it emptied the benches at one point. This was during a debate on the controversial assisted dying law. It was an emotionally charged debate that the Liberals were trying to set a limit on. Let's go to CTV's Don Martin. He joins us now with more on that. Don, you mentioned this a short time ago and you were trying to get some details. What exactly happened?
Wow, well, I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like this, frankly, Morella. What has happened was there was a time limit motion that was being voted on, and before the vote can happen, the whips from both the government and the official opposition have to march to the front in front of the speaker, bow and take their seats. Well, the Liberal whip walked up, and then the Conservative whip had his route blocked by NDP MPs and the like, and it probably was a deliberate blockage. He couldn't get through. Trudeau, in what was clearly a very angry moment, got up and strode very quickly through, reached through these MPs to grab the Conservative whip. Keep in mind, this isn't even his own whip. This is a Conservative whip, to pull him through the crowd into his seat, and in the process elbowed NDP MP Ruth Ellen Brasseau in the chest, and this unleashed an unholy brouhaha, frankly, Morella. There's been demands for apologies, demands for inquiries. The Prime Minister stood up moments ago and gave a very contrite apology to Ruth Ellen Brasseau. The opposition so far is having none of that. Ruth Ellen Brasseau herself has stood up and said that this was an attack almost on her, and she felt quite aggrieved by it. She had to leave the House temporarily after that incident. So we've seen something that suggests those sunny ways, Morella. Not so sunny anymore.
Yeah, looked like dark skies today. Let me ask you, at the beginning of this incident, you said the Conservative whip was being blocked by members of the NDP party. So they physically got up out of their seats and went to block him. How many of them? It looks like there were 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah, there's a milling around process before the whips come in. MPs aren't in their seats. They're getting ready to vote. But it looked like there was a bit of a gauntlet being thrown up to the Conservative whip. The NDP will say, hogwash, we were just standing around like we normally do, but I think it would be fair to say they were just having a little procedural fun. This comes off a week when the Liberals almost lost a vote in the House of Commons, and then they've brought forward a motion which hasn't been enacted yet to do some pretty, what's being described as draconian changes to the way votes are called, and the House can be adjourned, and all this power is going to gravitate to the cabinet, and that is triggered a firestorm amongst the opposition, who see this as making Stephen Harper's control freaks look like sheep by comparison.
Oof.
So it's a very ugly scene in the House of Commons right now. I don't know how this is going to resolve itself, but there's certainly going to be sour feelings on both sides after this.
I'm sure of that. Let me get back to the original debate on the assisted dying law. As you said, there was going to be a vote. I take it that didn't happen.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. I must say I was so busy watching the video with kind of rapt attention on this encounter with Trudeau and the whip that I haven't followed the procedure thing. I think they're still talking about this incident. And they haven't got to that vote, but they will. I mean, it's inevitable, and it will pass, and it will be sent off to the Senate tomorrow. But this is on time limiting on the debate, sort of our procedural hiccup, if you will. It's something that's really upsetting the NDP in particular, because the Conservatives, as you may recall, Morella, were very good at limiting debate.
Mm-hmm.
They did it over 100 times. Well, the Liberals seem to have picked up that tactic as sort of a regular occurrence, and they're imposing it more and more, and so the NDP are very upset, and that might have been what was the catalyst for this whole incident, apology, and whatever else you want to call it. Just a real dust-up, as you described in the opening.
All right, and the debate, by the way, we have learned has been successfully cut short, so that debate is over. Don Martin joining us with this fracas in the House of Commons, for lack of a better word. Don, thanks for that. If you hear any more details, come and tell us. We'll wait for that.
You bet.